And welcome back to the second season of To Lose the Veil. I'm Leslie and I am your host.
I'm Bonnie.
Hey everyone, I'm Stephanie, also known as Soli.
Hello, this is Gene.
I'm Brianda, aka Sole.
Do you think sex is related to life force? Do you think sex is related to God? Do you have a different relationship to your life force energy than you do to God? And how do you think life force is connected to God? And then these two questions come up with pleasure. What does pleasure mean to you? And what is your relationship to pleasure?
You're talking about pleasure. You're talking about pleasure with sex?
Yeah.
Okay, just want to be clear. There's all kind of pleasures. Okay.
You're right.
Or like physical, just any kind of physical.
Actually, I think we could probably broaden that because some people don't even like to be touched, let alone have sex. So I think we could go any way with that.
I have a question as well. What do we mean when we say life force?
He's talking about energy.
Yeah.
So just like our creative energy?
Mm-hmm. But that's all part of it, isn't it?
Okay, so
The conduit.
Conduit. I like that too.
Okay.
These are all very I don't know if it's the way that you form the questions or is it that I have to just dig deeper into myself to answer these, because when you ask some of these questions, my mind is just like, I don't even know where to start or where, which area to dig into myself, to come up with the answers.
But I remember first hearing the same energy that we use to make babies is the same energy that we use to write a song, is the same energy that we use to, create our life. It's all the same type of, creative energy, the same. So that's what I'm saying. So when I think of life force, I think about that. So, and when I think of sex, I think about, sex to make, sex to procreate, right?
Right.
Or sex to create, right?
Right.
Right? It's the same, that sex to procreate or sex energy to create. That's what I meant to say. So my point is that whether you have, basic sex, you make unprotected, you make a baby, right? There's an energy flow and transfer that happens there. And then, a baby comes out 9 months later, God willing.
Or a couple of them.
Right. Or that same energy, you don't put it into having that sexual encounter, but if you still channel it, you're still gonna create something,
right? Right.
So
right.
That's how I see it. But I never saw it beyond just making babies. I never paralleled that when I write a poem, I'm tapping into the same energy source,
Yeah.
So that was something that I learned from listening to other people who have put their information out there for us to consume, and that I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense, So that's how I see it now.
That's the way. That's the whole point, because we've evolved from sex is just to have babies. Sex is also tabooed in some places, so you could only have sex. You couldn't have pleasure. You could only have babies. You couldn't enjoy it. Okay, because this is what it was supposed to do. This is what it's supposed to do, and then to be awakened to the fact that's the same energy that you dance with. That's the same energy that you draw with. That's the same energy that you breathe with.
Mm-hmm.
You breathe that in.
Yeah, you could breathe into an orgasm.
Oh, yes. Oh, man.
You don't need nobody else.
I know. I agree with you. We do it anyway. Some of those breathing exercises that we do.
I hear you, girlfriend. Don't be trying to rewrap me. No, I believe that what you're saying, but
but no. But it's true. It really is just that. It's just getting the energy moving through breath, and then all of a sudden you start feeling a little different. You're like, wait a minute, I'm starting to feel this all up and down, And so that's when you're like, oh, it's that easy.
It is that easy.
It's that easy.
And that breath after having such amazing sex is the most enlivening breath. It is like essential in and of its own self. Anyway, okay, I'm stopping. So, but we weren't trained that way, you know? We weren't brought up that way. My mother gave me a book. How a Baby Was Born when I was 6. When I was 6. A very little, you can read it. The penis enters the vagina and a baby is born. Wow!
no, it was the stork for me.
The stork story for real? Oh my goodness! I always saw that on TV. That people got the stork.
That's what they used to tell us when we were kids. The stork brought the baby.
See, that's so archaic these days now.
Mine was just, if you have sex and you have a baby, you're gonna move out.
Wow.
That
So
was my
you?
lesson.
That's deep.
My lesson was, okay, so don't do that if I want to continue living here.
I was gonna say, if you want to have sex, just do the precautions not to get pregnant.
Yeah, but no, that wasn't taught. No, it wasn't. Right. It wasn't do it, but use protect. No, it was just
don't do it.
Don't do it. And if you do, this is gonna happen. And if this happens, you can't live here anymore.
Yeah, well, that was kind of like some house rules.
I remember I was 18 and I spent the night at my girlfriend's house. But of course, we were out. And we were out with the guys. We came back to her house at 7 o'clock in the morning. My mother had been calling her grandmother to find out where the hell we was. 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, somebody's waking me up in the bed. Did you do naughty? Did you do naughty? I'm 18. Did you do? I was like, whoa. I was 18.
Yeah.
Did you do naughty? That was crazy to me. That was so crazy. And I had been raised in that way. So just think about the trauma. What kind of trauma was that?
Yeah.
And I can remember coming back home and saying to her, I wouldn't have changed any of it. Like, just really, and she kind of like backed down a little bit. It was like crazy. It was so crazy.
My parents never really did none of that stuff. What? Really? No, they never really did. I think some of that might have come from my grandmother or somebody about, sex and stuff. Mm-hmm. My mother never even talked about sex. You know, when it was time for my period, it was my father who talked to me about it. You know what I mean? Because I think I was about 12 when my period came on. I mean, I can remember one time when we were traveling. My father was getting stationed in Florida, and we had driven for such a long time. When we finally got to where we had to go, and I think my mother had been driving for that period of time. She didn't want to get out the car because she was on her period, and even though she had the napkins and stuff, all that stuff had kind of worked, bled through and stuff like that. But there was never none of that. I got all my little education from the girls at school. But we knew at that time you didn't want to get pregnant because there was a stigmatism about it. In fact, when I went to school, if you got pregnant, you couldn't come to school no more.
Okay.
So it was really different. Girls can come to school pregnant now, can't they? Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, there was none of that.
I mean, at the age that most girls get their period, though, I mean,
they get that younger and younger, right?
Well, I don't know if they're getting it younger and younger, but you're still a child. Yeah. I mean, you're still a child in high school, but especially in middle school, like.
No, I was in high school. 12. No, I got mine 12, so that would have been middle school. Because we didn't have middle school down south either. Elementary. So I guess
like your brain isn't fully formed.
Yeah,
so to be having children at that age is like.
Well, some of them have.
I know.
Wow. Well, the question regarding sex and God, like, is that a part of God? I mean, I really hope that that it is.
Right.
Because, if I'm coming from the God is in everything, it's so much more present when I'm looking at a plant. Part of what I do for work is I'm a doula. So I get to be there when parents are delivering their babies. And if a baby coming out of a woman is not life, I just don't even know what is. But I even have that same experience, like seeing a plant kind of coming out of the dirt. So it takes sex to have all these things, really. And if God is not in sex, then I don't know what's happening. And then regarding pleasure, this is, I feel, an ongoing area personally to deal with, because I didn't take a course in pleasure, right? And you can, and it's definitely, I feel like as a human being, I don't even touch on the extent to which I could experience pleasure in my being. And I'm really interested in, like pushing towards the edges of that. I hope I never find the edge, but I'm really interested in growing myself in that area. I really want you to know that I'm sending my love and my hugs, and I really wish I was there. And talk to you later.
Okay, thanks. Bye. So now that we all know about sex, do we look at it differently? Can you say, when I'm having sex, I'm flowing God through my body? The relationship between the two.
I don't think I would think about God when I was having sex at that time.
Think about that. Just think about that. Think about having a partner who wants you to be so connected to God that they do service you so you could be in that space with God. That's a whole different animal than what we grew up with. You know what else I get excited about? Because when you think about breathing like that, and you think about the quantum particles that you were taking in, then what are you taking in to make you feel like that? You're taking in God. You're taking in the particles of God in the breath that's coming alive as you feel it going up and down. What are you doing? That's love. That's God. That's all there for you.
Going back to the whole pleasure thing, it's a pathway to pleasure. It's a pathway to bliss. And when you have sex, you naturally start breathing like that. Like if you're in it, if you're in it with your partner,
surrendering in the moment.
Yeah, if you and your partner are in tune, you start breathing in a way where you're cycling that energy naturally, and it's pleasurable.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as I'm concerned, it's supposed to be, right? And to answer the question, I do think sex is related to God, because I feel like that energy to me is
God.
A God energy, It's the energy that creates worlds. Who says that?
You gotta own it.
That's an Abraham. Energy that creates worlds.
You have the power of the universe inside your body. She says that one too. You guys walk around with the power of the universe inside your body, and you don't even know it, and you don't use it. So tapping into that is so.
Makes you wonder why they made such a taboo about sex.
Yeah, no, it doesn't, because it's about control and disempowering. So
back to
that's what it is. So we are here to
get your breathing on.
How about that,
girl?
Go ahead and get that breath.
And pleasure. Don't forget, pleasure is something that is it's so interesting because there are so many different ways that people get pleasure, but it feels like to me that was never a real word in my vocabulary. So if you were to ask me necessarily, especially 10 years ago, what gives me pleasure, I couldn't tell you. I couldn't really tell you, because the things that were on my mind is raising my son, going to work, keeping a roof over our heads. So pleasure might have been sitting down watching TV and eating ice cream.
That's
pleasure is that right. So this thing about pleasure, I remember I went to this Amazing Goddess workshop, and it just opened my eyes to pleasure. Whoa. And so eating a mango is sexy. Putting chocolate on yourself and licking it off is pleasurable.
Feathers.
Yes. And yet we spend so much time not allowing ourselves to have that in our everyday life. That's insanity. I still don't allow myself that as much as I really should, knowing what I know.
Same.
Yeah. So what do you think about pleasure, Dean?
I think everybody should have it.
I concur. I feel like we need to start teaching it as like, like as ritual, like, the same, how right now I'm in the process of establishing a morning ritual. It's still not all the way set for, for what I feel like I need to get up in the morning and tune into myself. But I'm getting there. But I feel like in talking about pleasure, it reminds me of that, of like, because the whole point of me wanting a morning ritual is to feel better about getting up in the morning. That's really what it is. Yeah. Like that's been a struggle for me in my adult years, and I don't want it to be anymore. I don't want to suffer through getting up. Like I like the fact that I have a new day to wake up to. So why do I suffer through it some mornings?
Right.
And so
interesting.
And so like to me that's all related, because having a cup of tea and listening to a song I like is pleasurable, and so turning it into a ritual the same way that you brush your teeth and you use the toilet, turning that, like, what are the things that would bring you pleasure on a daily basis, and just create that ritual for yourself. I feel
that's true.
That would be great if that's something that all of us were reminded to do.
in that particular class that I took,
on a mainstream level,
in that particular class I took, that was some of the things that she would say for us to do too. Like, so when you take a shower or get out of the tub, spend time with yourself and put the lotion on for pleasure, and take the time to feel what it feels like on your arms, as opposed to what it feels like on your legs, as opposed to what it feels like when you're doing your foot, and make that part of your ritual. It was really I never did it, but it was really quite interesting. But
you got homework.
Yeah, listen, I certainly do. But you know what? So what has come to me, how I want to do it, the body butters. I want to do it with a body butter. I don't want to do it with lotion. I don't want to do it with crap. I want to make the most luxurious body butter and get in the bathtub and soak, come out, and lather myself in this amazing body butter.
Can you buy it?
I'm going to make some. As a matter of fact, I have in my refrigerator right now that I just bought some shea butter off one of those African guys. So I got to get the rest of the stuff to do.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah. I got homework, is right.
Yeah, you do. Because how long ago you took this class?
Yeah, too long. Much too long. Much too long. But what was so interesting, that class had me see every vagina as the earth, and that anything that was alive had to come out of this dark canal, whether it was a tree coming out the dirt, whether it was a leaf, whether it was a blade of grass. Even when we create, we see it in a dark void before we give it life. I had never thought of myself in that way until that class. It was mind-blowing to me. It was just totally mind-blowing to me. Thank you, my love, for that class. I'm trying to keep everything. I'm trying not to name names and say things like that, but it's cool. I just have to say thanks for it, because it was like, what? That's insane.
We love you all. Thank you for tuning in. On our next episode, we're going to be talking about sex. Have a fantastic day, honey. Have a fantastic life. Bye.